How's it going out there, YouTube land and also some social media lands? Welcome to an all-new video. In this video, we're going to be reviewing a new movie that just came out, and it's the third film of a great trilogy of films that, Marvel has put out. So we're going to get right into that. Before we do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss this video and the other videos I put up. As always, people, if you enjoy my content here on YouTube, definitely check out my other social media platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all those great places. I very much do, put stuff on a regular basis, so definitely check that out too. As always, people, let's get right into this. So welcome one and all to an all-new video. So like I was saying before, we're going to be doing a review of a new film that just came out, and is a third film in a great trilogy of films brought to us by Marvel, and that has, kind of waited a couple years to finally do this third and final film. And that happens to be the film known as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Yeah! Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Yeah! So like I said, this is the third and final installment in the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. This is the third film, directed once again by the same gentleman that directed the previous two films. It is the third outing of this characterization of these characters from the Marvel Comics, and is kind of like the ending conclusion to kind of this character set in the Marvel Universe. So now, of course, once again, like I said, this is directed once again by the guy that directed the previous two films. And, of course, that gentleman happens to be Mr. James Gunn. Oh, yeah, James Gunn. Woo, James Gunn. Yeah, James Gunn. So James Gunn, once again, returns to direct the third film in the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. Like I said, he directed the previous two. He's directed quite a few other films over the years. Of course, he directed Slither. He's directed several other films, and is a pretty decent director. Always makes really good choices, I feel, and always makes really decent films. Now, when it comes to his directing style, he has a really good eye most of the time, and I feel like most of the time he does a decent job. He gives us really solid, cinematography, good music, good all these things, and yet I feel like he kind of went completely on a 360 with this film. Now, like I said, he did great with the first two films, but unfortunately I feel that he kind of had some negativity behind him after he got fired previously, to do this film, and I think he kind of let that leach into how he directed this film. And I don't think he directed it as well as he did the previous two films, and definitely the direction of this film just seemed very misconnecting throughout the whole entire film, and it didn't seem very cohesive. I felt that he just didn't direct it as well as he could have. Now, another film that he directed that I think he did a phenomenal job with, that I think is a great non-MCU film, that, really shows, I can see why DC decided to hire them as their new president for DC products. And that, of course, is the film known as The Suicide Squad. Yeah! The Suicide Squad. Now, this is a fantastic film, really well done. Great action, great story, great characterizations and all that kind of good stuff. And you can see the beauty of how good of a director James Gunn is through this film, and how great of an eye he had of bringing this DC universe to life. But at the same time, I felt that, the Suicide Squad just was such a better rendition of what he would produce versus what he did with Guardians 3. So if you want to see what really, James Gunn does well, definitely check out The Suicide Squad. He did a phenomenal job with it. Really made a really fantastic film and just made it really enjoyable. But overall, I just didn't really care for the direction he took Guardians 3 in. Like I said before, I think that he had a lot of animosity towards Marvel, and he did kind of like what I felt, Joss Whedon did to Age of Ultron. He took a really great idea and kind of flummoxed it, so that, the show, his kind of like, his retaliation for what they did to him prior. And that's the kind of feeling I got from him. That was one of my things I was worried about going into seeing this movie, was that fact. And I felt that that totally happened with this film. Because I felt that the cinematography in this film was really horribly done. The whole angles and everything that they try to do and stuff like that just did not cohesively work, I felt, and really jumbled a lot of things and didn't make the film very enjoyable. And also, the soundtrack on this film, now, he is fantastic with soundtracks. The first 2 volumes, other films he's done have great soundtracks. This is probably the worst soundtrack I've seen him put out in all the films that he's done. And I was really shocked at how horrible the song presentation was for this film. And I felt it just didn't fit it. And I know that he was trying to go for a darker theme with this film. And, that's the reason why it was so much darker and less bright as the previous 2 films. But at the same time, you could still bring a little light to that and not make it so dark. When the MCU is known for being a lot more brighter and not as dark as, let's say, DC goes. So I think that also just didn't make the film as enjoyable too as well. And I felt that it just didn't really make James Gunn's directing as good as he could have done it. And, I was really disappointed with what he did. Not my favorite of his directing, but still worthy of a watch. If you haven't seen James Gunn do anything, definitely go check out Guardians of the Galaxy in the theaters now for his directing and see what you think of his directing of this film. So, of course, this film brings back many of the original characters that we have known for the last 2 previous films. We've had a few additions to this film of great actors such like Nathan Fillion, James Gunn's wife, and of course we have the addition of Chiwetel Ejiofor as the main bad guy in the film, William Poulter as Adam. And we just had a lot of great, people be added to this film and to, fill out that great roster. Now, of course, to start us off is Star-Lord himself, Mr. Chris Pratt. Oh, yeah, Chris Pratt, woo, Chris Pratt, yeah. So Chris Pratt, of course, we all know from Andy from The Office, or Andy from Parks and Rec. We all know him from several other films over the years. His recent TV series, The Terminal List on Amazon. And, of course, we've seen him in other Avenger films. And, of course, as Star-Lord in the previous 2 Guardians of the Galaxy film. Now, Chris Pratt I absolutely love. I think he's a fantastic actor. I think he's super funny. And I think he does a great job in any performance that he does. I mean, from his little Weasley small portion in Wanted to his character in that Vince Vaughn film where he finds out that he's made more babies than God, and he just is always a really enjoyable actor and always fun to watch. And once again, he brought that same great charm to Star-Lord. Of course, he was a lot more depressed in this film versus his previous 2 because of Gamora's death, and I still thought that Chris Pratt did a good job of bringing that to life and giving us a really solid performance that I thought was really enjoyable. I enjoyed him. I didn't care for that they kept making him so depressed throughout the whole entire film, but overall I thought Chris Pratt did a good job of bringing that and giving his own spin on the character, or this interpretation in this film. Now, another great film he was in that you should definitely check out is a great remake of a film that came out a few years ago and has an all-star cast that is just a really amazing remake. And that, of course, the film called The Magnificent Seven. Yeah, The Magnificent Seven. Yeah, absolutely loved him in this film. He was so freaking fantastic, so awesome. And I absolutely enjoyed everything he brought to his character in this film. He was a great addition along with Denzel Washington, Vincent D'Onofrio, Ethan Hawke. I mean, all the people that were in that film were just really fantastic at their job in that film. And I just loved what Chris Pratt did and brought to this character and gave us a really solid film that I feel really shows that he has the acting chops to do pretty much anything. And really showed his other sides of, action and stuff like that besides being Star-Lord and so forth. And I just thought he did a really fantastic job in the character. If you haven't seen the Magnificent Seven remake for Chris Pratt's performance, definitely check it out. He did a really phenomenal job. But overall, I really enjoyed Chris Pratt in Guardians Volume 3. I thought he was great to see him as Star-Lord. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing what they have for him in the future, especially with this being this kind of the end of this iteration of the Guardians, and I'm looking forward to seeing just where it goes and what he does with the character And I really enjoyed kind of him finally going back to see his grandfather, and that funny kind of moment where he finally is making amends with his human past and all this kind of good stuff. Really well done. Really enjoyed Chris Pratt. If you haven't seen him in anything lately, definitely go check him out in Guardians Volume 3 this weekend or anytime soon. Out in theaters. Give it a whirl, people. Chris Pratt rocks. So the next actress I'd like to talk about that was in this film is none other than Nebula herself, Miss Karen Gillan. Oh yeah, Karen Gillan, woo, Karen Gillan, yeah. Oh, I have absolutely enjoyed the evolution of Nebula through this series. And once again, Karen Gillan kicks butt in this film and delivers on Nebula. Absolutely love where they took her. I love the comedy element. I love how she was so different than previous who she was. And I love her evolution entirely through this whole series. And she just dynamitely did an amazing job in this film. Absolutely loved her throughout the entire film. I thought she was awesome, amazing, and just did a really fantastic job. I love just how she has brought the character full 360 from, that evil, just wanting love to being a part of the Guardians and just being a really fantastic addition to that family. And bringing a really great, funniness to the character too. And Karen Gillan has done a great job of bringing that to life and giving us this really solid performance. I mean, there are some great scenes in this film that she just did so well, especially that sequence that you see in the trailer where Gamora says to them that Quill's really actually in love with Nebula, and they're like, and then she goes off on a tangent and stuff, and it's absolutely freaking hilarious. And Karen did such a great job bringing that to life. It was just so awesome and so well done. Now, another great film that Karen Gillan was in, you should definitely check out if you haven't seen it, is a great action film that came out a few years ago that is just action-packed and full of lady power, called Gunpowder Milkshake. Yeah, Gunpowder Milkshake. Yeah, this is a fantastic action film, kind of along the lines of like Atomic Blonde and stuff like that, Aeon Flux and so forth. And I just absolutely loved Karen in this film. I thought she was so awesome as like this assassin person. She kicked butt. She worked really well with all the other actresses in the film. And I just really enjoyed what she brought to it and how action-packed and awesome she was. And I thought it was a really well-done role, simply for the fact that I thought she brought so many great different emotions to the character, along with just being action-packed. And I really enjoyed what Karen did with the character and giving us a really full rounded character that was just really awesome, that had a beginning and an end in this film and just worked well with everything in the film. If you haven't seen Gunpowder Milkshake, definitely check it out. It's a great film. See Karen Gillan's performance. She did a fantastic job in it. But overall, I absolutely loved Nebula in this film. I thought she was one of the best parts of this film. She was so enjoyable. Just a really great, awesome character, and just absolutely really enjoyed her in this film. If you haven't seen Karen Gillan anything recently, definitely go check out in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. She was perfection in the film. So that brings me to the next person I'd like to talk about that was in this film. And that is none other than the amazing person that did the voice of the awesome Rocket Raccoon, known as Bradley Cooper! Oh yeah, Bradley Cooper, woo! Bradley Cooper! So Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon has been amazing. I've absolutely enjoyed him as Rocket. He did a great job doing the voice. I love the amazing thing he does with his voice to bring Rocket to life. And I think that Bradley has done a great job of bringing Rocket to life and giving us this really fantastically complex character, which we finally get to see the full kind of spectrum of who Rocket is in this film. And I really enjoyed how Bradley just brought to life Rocket's performance in this film, and how he really, brought to life the different aspects of, what makes Rocket Rocket, and how he really is just fantastic at bringing that kind of like sarcasticness always to his phrasing, and it's just done so well, and I think Bradley's done a great job. Now, another great film you should definitely check out Bradley was in was a great live-action film where he was in the film with great cast: Sarah Jessica Parker, Zooey Deschanel, Matthew McConaughey, Justin Bartha, And he just was actually, I loved him in this film, and I thought he was so fun. And then, of course, the film called Failure to Launch. Yeah! Failure to Launch. He was absolutely fantastic in this film, and I absolutely loved his character of Semi in this film, and he was like super funny, super on point, and totally Bradley Cooper. And I just love his relationship with Matt McConaughey and Justin Bartha, and like what he brought to it. And I think that scene where he's like trying to explain to Matthew McConaughey how he needs to do certain things, and he's like, "Did you just drop me from a thunder?" You know, and so like that was absolutely freaking hilarious. And I just loved what he brought to the characterization and what he brought to that character. And I just thought it was a really good and fantastic comedic performance. If you haven't seen Bradley Cooper or anything recently, definitely go check him out at Failure to Launch. He was really amazing in the film. But I've loved everything he's done with Rocket Raccoon. I love what they did with Rocket in this film. I'm glad they didn't do what I was afraid that they were going to do with the character. And I was really enjoyed that he brought that character to life and given this really solid performance in the last 3 films. And, of course, Endgame and Infinity War, and just everything he's brought this character to, and I thought Bradley just did a fantastic job. If you haven't seen Bradley Cooper or anything recently, definitely go check him out in Guardians 3 as Rocket. He was really fantastic in it. So I'd like to do some honorable mentions, of course, of Dave Bautista, Pom Klementieff, in this film. They were both very fantastic in this film as well. I mean, Pom Klementieff, I absolutely love. I think she's been fantastic as Mantis. She had some really great one-liners. She's had some really great scenes with Nebula, and she just was so fantastic in this. And, of course, Dave Bautista has been fantastic as Drax since the first Guardians. I love the angle they gave him, and I think Bautista did a great job of bringing that to life, giving us this really solid comedic performance that was so funny. And, like, throughout this whole freaking film, he keeps saying that, you know, Quill's, like, saying that he's got to save his best friend, and then Drax pops in and he's like, a second best friend. It was absolutely freaking hilarious, and I think Bautista just needs to get credit for how good he is at doing comedy and doing comedic performances, because he was really superb at playing Drax. And, you know, Drax really brought his acting career to life, and I just loved what Bautista did with this film. And overall, I think both of them were just fantastic, Pom Klementieff and Dave Bautista. Definitely check them out for this movie. They were so great. But overall, the film itself, you know, basically the premise of the film is, you know, it's basically telling the backstory of Rocket. Basically, it takes us into several dream sequences that Rocket has while he has been injured and they're trying to save his life. The Guardians, basically, the majority of the film have to figure out a way to save Rocket's life and have to deal with the person that created him, the High Evolutionary, and basically they have to, you know, save the world once again from somebody trying to change it into what, you know, everyone doesn't need to be changed into, and kind of them dealing with, you know, them all have been changing and them, you know, wanting to move on and do different things as well. And overall, the story itself was okay. It was decently done. It wasn't the best. I don't think it's as great as the critics are making it out to be. I was really disappointed with a lot of it. Like I said, the soundtrack was horrible. The acting by the, you know, the High Evolutionary himself, I thought did not do justice for that villain. Adam Warlock was amazing. I absolutely loved William Poulter as Adam Warlock. I thought that them making him dumb was kind of funny. I know it's different than what was in the comics, but at the same time, I thought it worked well for the film, because especially when you watch the film, they make a point to say they pulled him out too early. And so I think that's the reason why he's not the full Adam Warlock we know him from the comics. So they did make that evolutionary change there to make it, you know, more comical, as a lot of people hate. But I definitely don't think this is the best Guardian of the Galaxy ever. I give this one a 5 Golden Move Boxes out of 10. Like I said, I thought this movie had a lot of great funny moments. There were some great redeeming qualities, but overall I thought the film itself just was not what I was expecting, not what I wanted, and I didn't think it was a really great conclusion to the Guardians of themselves. And I honestly think that it was one of those types of films where, you know, retaliation was a part of its whole genome, unfortunately. And I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with that, but that's how I see it, that's how I view it, that's just my opinion. But overall, I think it was a halfway decent film. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't the greatest either. And like I said, I give it a 5 out of 10 Golden Movie Boxes up. Definitely worth a watch. Worth seeing for the great acting by all the people that are part of the Guardians. All of them did great. Zoe Saldana did a great job too. I like kind of the evolution of this, Gamora versus, the original Gamora. I thought it was interesting how they brought her to the point she is. We had great, cameos by Michael Rosenbaum, by Sylvester Stallone, and so forth and so like that as their characters from the previous Guardians film. And overall, like I said, a decent, okay film. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely go check it out in the theaters now. Worth a watch. A okay and decent film. So that's it for this movie review, guys. Always thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Also, thank you for subscribing. And if this is your first time here or you have been here before, don't forget to check out any older new videos you might see mine yet. As always, people, if you want to show support for the channel, definitely check out my links down below. Either from my Patreon page where I do all kinds of extra stuff you don't get here on my YouTube channel for being a part of my Patreon. Definitely check that out to support the channel. Or if you're a huge horror movie fan, definitely check out the Horror Pack link where you can get great horror DVDs, Blu-rays to your door every month for a great low price. Definitely check that out too. As always, people, catch you next one.